Hi Conquest and welcome back, and today I have got you a 70 bomb on Amiens Conquest, primarily using the assault class and dabbing in a little bit. Well, actually I think the majority of the kills are with the light tank and the flanker variant. I'll just say it's a light tank. It really isn't much of a tank. If you see any other armor coming the other way, you tend to get out of there pretty darn sharpish because you are just going to die. You die in like two and a half shots to a heavy tank. It's just not worth trying to compete with them. It is primarily there just to wipe out infantry, and it does a fantastic job at that. And if an assault player does pay the slightest bit of attention to you, he will drop you on his own. Fortunately, this game, however, they did leave me alone, and I was able to rack up some awesome kills. I think actually one point I nearly managed to get I don't know what it was some epic little kill chain down a side street. Unfortunately, it got interrupted all the time, so it wasn't an epic little kill feed, but it was still on a massive point streak, so look out for that. It was pretty cool. Anyway, the gameplay is only a little backdrop to today's topics, and I wanted to start out by a small little apology. Starting out with the fact, if you are very eagle-eared, you may have noticed on a couple of my videos in the past, I don't have any gameplay audio. Now, this is purely because I've been recording on the PlayStation, and I didn't realise that this was an actual problem with the PlayStation. Because I've been playing on the Xbox, I didn't know this was something you could face as an error. And that is, if you have a headset plugged in on your PlayStation, you only can get one audio out. So I've got my Elgato plugged into the back with the HDMI lead, yet I have my Razer headset plugged into the front on USB. And unfortunately, the game can only sustain one of these audio outputs, unlike the Xbox, which will sustain both of them, so I can have my headset in and still get game audio out of the back of it. Now, I didn't realise this was an issue until the other day when I was going through my library of stuff I've recorded, and I was like, how is there no game sound on any of these clips? And I couldn't figure it out at all. And it wasn't until I then, after realising that, looked through when I was trying to record something, and I was like, there's no audio coming through on my recording software. What's going on here? So I had to Google it, and it turns out if you're using a USB mic, there is no fix for it whatsoever. You have to use a different mic. The options are having a mic with a 3.5mm jack or an optical in input for a microphone, and then you can share it so you can sort of work it so you get an audio output from your HDMI as well. The 3.5mm is a pain in the ass because you have a load of cables, and I tend to trip over cables and break things when I trip over because I'm a bit of a lump and I'll break things when I fall on them. So I was looking for a new optical headset, or a headset with an optical in, and the other day I was in town. I was getting my hair cut, and I was also putting some money in the bank. And I thought, you know what, I'll have a look and see if I can find one whilst I'm in town. And I had a look on Games website, and they have a few of them. They had the Turtle Beach 520 Stealths. They were the cheapest ones, and they were £64 on the website. So I was like, okay, that seems a fair price. I've got about £10 on the not voucher cards, the loyalty points. So it's only about 55 quid for a headset. That's not too shabby. I mean, it's still a little bit more than I wanted to spend, but hey, it looks a pretty good headset. So I then walked into the shop, and on the shelf, on the back, behind the counter, was this headset. And for some reason, on the counter, it was labelled as 90 quid. I was like, that's a little high. So I spoke to the shop attendant, and he went, oh yeah, let me just check that. Typed it into his thing and goes, I can do it for you for 59. I was like, okay, sold, because knowing I had my £10 off as well, I got this lovely headset for £49, and it is a lovely headset. I've only been using it for a couple of days now, but it is super comfortable. If you are looking for a cheapish headset, which is really good for your PlayStation, I would highly recommend the Turtle Beach 520 Stealth. It is a really nice headset, and it also has some epic little features on it. On top of that, it has a really good mic, and it is a very comfortable headset. I've worn it for a fair few hours now, and it doesn't hurt my head in the slightest. As I said, it's got some cool little features. It's got multiple settings on it, so you can have it so you can watch movies, listen to music, play your games, or just a standard stereo setting. I find the stereo setting the best. Game comes out a little bit weird. I don't know whether I've just set it up incorrectly or what's wrong with it. And I also quite enjoy when you press each button, it talks to you. It's like, microphone is now muted. Power on. I think that is super. It's really enjoyable. I've never had a wireless headset before. I'm sure all of them probably do that. I just haven't experienced it before. I've always gone with a wired one because I was always worried that our battery's running out. But it's got a 15-hour battery time on it, which seems pretty darn good. Also, it has this awesome little feature called superhuman hearing. Now, I was quite curious to try this out, and I've only trialled it out on Rainbow Six Siege as it currently sits. And I have to say, the Siege system's audio system isn't particularly brilliant, let's say. It has an interesting mechanic in the fact that it rebounds the sound down hallways. So if someone's the other side of a wall to you, you don't necessarily hear them through the wall. You'll hear the fact that they're there by the doorway down the hall from you, and the sound will sort of reverberate through there. So you can kind of lose people in the sound a little bit, and the superhuman hearing doesn't really amplify that particularly well. What it really does is it makes everything, I think it just turns up the treble massively and drops the bass completely, which is meant to make it so when you're running around, you can hear footsteps a bit clearer and you can hear weapon reloads, and it will help you pick out people a bit better. I think the best way of trying this out will be like in a COD game. I think it's probably one of the better ways of doing this, but we shall have to try it out. Saying about COD games, as you are probably all aware now, Black Ops 2 is now backwards compatible on the Xbox One, and I'd be really interested to know if you guys would like to see some more of that from me. I did play an awful lot of that game in the past, and I really enjoyed my time playing it. I love the zombies on it, and I'd be really interested to know if you guys would be interested in seeing more of that from me. So if you could let me know in the comment section below, that would be awesome. Thank you very much for that. But moving on to the actual topic of today. Oh, wait. I also want to say, so I will apologise for the fact that there will be some Rainbow Six clips coming up which don't have any audio in them. Not in this video, but in upcoming videos, I don't have any audio on them. So please forgive me for that, but I can't really throw them away. There's some really good little clips. But from now on in, anything that I record from now on in will have gameplay audio. So be aware of that, and I do apologise for any inconvenience that causes. Anyway, moving on to my main topic, or the main meat of today's topic was going to be, which is about the nade spam in Battlefield 1. It's a bit of a hot topic at the moment, and it is a little bit sort of on the verge of game breaking. And fortunately, DICE are actually going through and making tiny, tiny little baby steps to fixing things. In this upcoming patch that we're going to be seeing to Battlefield 1, they fortunately are getting rid of the terrible concept of regenerating grenades. Whoever came up with that idea, I guess they must have literally just been trialing it for Battlefront 2 as an idea or a concept they thought would be a good thing to add in for this, in that sort of space-agey environment. I have to say it was a truly terrible idea, and it does not work in Battlefield 1, and please don't put it in Battlefront 2. It's not a good thing. So they are removing that, and they are also changing the frag grenade slightly. So they have a slightly reduced blast radius and a slightly increased time to explode after they've been thrown, which hopefully should mean that if a grenade lands near you, you don't just put your controller down and go, well, I'm just dead here. I'm going to have to wait for that 15 seconds before I'm able to jump back up again. They are changing it so there is a slight chance that you might be able to get away from it. When I say a slight chance, I mean a very slight chance. I think they increased the detonation time or delay by 0.3 of a second. So I don't think it's going to make a massive difference, but we'll have to wait and see how it actually plays out. It'll be quite interesting. I think they probably need to go through and increase it a little bit more, but DICE seem to be taking baby steps, and I don't really understand why they've had to sort of reinvent the wheel. They do it every year, or every time they bring out a new game, they have to reinvent the wheel. As one of my dad's favourite sayings was KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I don't understand when they've got a system that works so well. They spent so long with Battlefield 4. After 2 years, they had that game that pretty much everyone who played it loved that game. And for some reason, Battlefield 1 comes out, and they seem to have forgotten that and changed it all back to a whole new system. They've got to reinvent the wheel every time. I don't understand why game developers do that. Why they can't just look at the positives from what we've had in previous games and go, you know what, that worked. Let's keep that system. No, we've got to change it. It can't work like that. We need to keep it fresh and new and change things up, and it just doesn't really work. Just keep it simple, stupid. But yeah, and also they are going through and changing slightly. Again, very small little step. They are reducing the damage of the heavy anti-tank grenades, or the anti-tank grenades that the assault players get, by 10%. I think they need to reduce them down to about 50%, and I think that would make them so much more, reduce the nade spam specifically on that class, and make them a little bit more balanced. Purely for the fact that grenades really shouldn't be used for getting kills all the time. Grenades should be there to help you soften up a target before you jump into a room or run around a corner. The anti-tank grenades as it currently sits is like you've got the choice of, well, I could get a kill with this thing, or I can do 20 damage to a heavy tank. Kill it is. And I think by reducing that damage down to about 50% would mean that people would make that active choice to throw the grenades more at vehicles, and also use them to just soften up a target before you go into a room. If you throw one grenade, it does 50 damage. When you run into that room, you've got a significant advantage over that person. I think that would be a really welcome change to the game, and I think it would be great to see. On top of that, I'd like to see the frag version of the crossbow and the rifle grenades removed. I don't see that either the medic or the support class needs to have 3 or 4 frag grenades. I think it's a really stupid idea, especially on the support class. You can chuck all your grenades, fire all your crossbow grenades, and by the time that you've fired all your grenades off, you've got another one resupplied if you're sat on top of your ammo crate. And I think that's a little bit too strong. So hopefully they could remove that, and then also up the damage of the high X version. The high X version of them was sort of sold to me on the premise that we were going to see this be able able to have, when you play the support class, I lost my words a bit there, play the support class, you have an ability to damage armor at range, because you can do an awful lot of damage with the support class with the limpet charge, but you're kind of almost suiciding each time you do it. So I think having the high X version damage increased slightly, so it does about 10 damage, which would counter the emergency repair and do a little bit of damage to the vehicle. I think it would make it so much more of a valuable change. The smoke grenade, I think, is in a great position. I think more people should use it, especially on maps like Sinai Desert Operations, where you really struggle to push up over these open areas. But I do think that frag version needs to be removed. Anyway, guys, I really like to know what your opinions on that. Do you reckon I'm talking absolute baloney, or do you reckon that's a good idea and DICE probably should move somewhere along those lines? This game is coming to an end. I hope you really enjoyed this gameplay and the commentary, and I shall see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye for now.